Hi everyone, welcome back. Today's card is kind of a bit special to me, but I will walk you through it. I'm going to make my own stencils. So I've cut using just some plain thin cardstock, an oval using Lawn Fawn's oval dies, and as I showed you there, and I've got some pumice stone and some scattered straw distress ink that I'm going to use for both parts. And it will become more and more clear as we go on. So I have my mixed media mat here from Waffle Flower, watercolor media mat. Anyway, and I'm just going to temporarily with some washi tape down this made up stencil, and I'm using the light on my lighting to sort of look through it to see if it's lined up where I want it on the card. So for these circles, or not circles, ovals, I'm going to start with the scattered straw to create these sort of overlapping ovals. Basically I'm making some spotlights, and it will make sense as we go through it, but I didn't have a stencil for this, so this I thought was kind of clever on my part, but we'll see what you guys think. So I then moved it over. I wasn't worried about it going off the edge of the card on the right hand side, but I wanted the ovals to actually overlap, which is what I've done here. And again, using the light shining from behind the cardstock to see if they were lined up where I wanted it. And again, just going over with the scattered straw. So you can see there's almost like these oval egg shapes that are sort of overlapping each other. And then I went to the left side and did the same thing, just so that they just doing the same thing again. And once I've got that inked, I'm now taking, and I've already sort of prepped this bit, I've got two pieces, well, getting the hair off my cat. Anybody got a really fluffy cat that just drops hair everywhere? My cat is like that, and she's massive as well. Anyway, so I have these two pieces of cardstock here, and I've just taped them to create this sort of upside down V. And what I did was, when I was lining them up to tape those two together, I used the oval shape at the widest point, and made sure that when I lined where the edge of the oval is on either side, and the point of the upside down V, I made sure that height wasn't longer than my card base. So when I take it off here, you'll see what I mean. It's not going to go, that point is going to be on the card, not off the edge of the paper. And so essentially I created my own little upside down cone shape for the V. So you see how the top of the V the point doesn't go off the edge of my main image sheet, my card base. Hopefully this makes some sense. And for these ones I'm using pumice stone. This color actually worked out really well with this in the end, but I wasn't sure what color to use. I could have used another yellow, I suppose, or maybe even a very pale blue might have worked as well. But this, I really love how this one turned out. And there is a story behind why I decided to get this. When I show you the stamp set, I'll explain that. So I've done it on all three of these, but they kind of look like, well, just upside down cones. so what I wanted to do is I wanted to sort of make them so that they stood out much more vibrantly, and so that they were the main sort of background part, or part of the background that I was making. So I then went to good old black soot distress ink, and I'm going to use the pieces that I have already used for creating the stencils, or my makeshift stencils, and I'm just using them along the edge of each of these triangles to basically colour in the background. I will go back on that first one in a minute, just because I can see a white line there, so I do go back and sort of fill that in. But I'm just using both of these pieces and just lining them up using some washi tape just to hold them in place, and then just inking with some black soot ink. It's very easy to do. This is a very basic shapes when it comes to like creating this background. So there's probably a lot of other things you can actually do the exact same idea with when you're trying to create a background. But this, for me, I wanted spotlights, and I thought actually this makes sense for me anyway. And in the end, like I say, I really love it. I love how it turned out. And I'm still not going to say what the main images are going to be just yet, although it might be in the title anyway. You might have seen it on the thumbnail, but anyway. So this way, when I've darkened the background, the spotlights will sort of shine, for want of a better word. They'll pop out more than having the white background. So the top bit was pretty easy. The bottom bit, what I should have done is kept the inside piece, the inside oval that actually die cut out of this section. I should have actually kept that, and I could have used that as a mask. So at the moment, my brain just would not clock that that's what I needed to do. And by then I'd already chucked that piece. So yeah, in hindsight, that's what I should have done. So you'll see me finagling, trying to figure out how to not get the black soot on those ovals, those yellow ovals. That's basically what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to create another mask for it. And in the end, I just decided to wing it. It worked. It was fine. So I'm going along on the edge with some black soot, and then I will use the sponge edge of the tool to get into the sort of bits in between each of those ovals, where it's got almost like a little voop, a little pointy bit. So I used the sponge to kind of drag that in. There were a couple of places I got the black soot on the scattered straw, so I do go back in with my brush now just to try and sort of smooth that out a bit. And then of course I couldn't leave well alone, so I brought out a I never get the name of this right, an aqua marker water brush thing, and it does have some water in it, and I just, because it's distress ink, it just reacted enough that I could just drag that out just so that I can get those lines a little bit smoother. It's not perfect, but it works really well. And this isn't watercolor paper either, so because I wasn't really planning on doing that, but it still worked really well, and I was really quite pleased with how the background turned out. So now this is where we're going to put the clearly besotted Twinkle Toes stamps on here. I've already stamped and coloured. I used some Margello Mission Gold paints to to paint the little hippos, but I stamped, I think I've said in a couple of videos, I've stamped a bunch of images out one day and then just painted them all, so that's why I already had them done. And I'm using the same So Saffron Stampin' Up cardstock here to stamp the sentiment onto, and it's the same as the card base that I'm using, same color. And so I'm going to start layering up these little dancing hippos. Now the story behind the hippos is that when I was a kid, my grandmother and I used to watch Fantasia. If anybody's not seen that, seriously, you've got to watch it. It's a classic Disney film and it's so beautiful. But we watched it when I was a kid, and we used to always watch it when I was a kid, and she adored the dancing hippos in Fantasia. So that's what this is inspired by. And Mama Elephant actually have another stamp set that I will at some point be purchasing as well, because there's in that particular stamp set there's dancing hippos and elephants. So but yes, so that's the story behind the dancing hippos. My grandmother adored them. So yeah, so that's just a childhood memory, and as soon as I saw them I was like, I've got to have them. Yeah, So all I've done with the sentiment and the edge of the card is inked the edges with the black soot, just to sort of draw the eye in. I left everything else in the sort of yellows and sort of the black soot and the pumice stone. They're more neutral colors in my eyes, but the hippos had to have their pink skirts on. And again, if you've watched Fantasia, you know that they have these lovely pink tutus on that they dance around in. So I just thought that these were perfect for this card. So and I had to do this. So the last thing I'm going to put on is these are some like gems. They're like mixed bags of gems. So this one has a variety. I can't remember the name of it, but it's from Lucy's Cards. So go and check her out. She's local to us here, and I love supporting local. So they're super inexpensive as well, and you get tons in this little bag. I mean, they're going to last me a while. So and there's loads in this particular set, and she'll do them like themed sets. So she'll have like Halloween ones, and she'll have Christmas themed ones and things like that. So there's lots to choose from. And then there's also sort of not plain, none of them are plain, they're all really pretty, but you might have sort of certain colors that are just together, like just blues or just white or cream or whatever. And so I dug around in here, as you'll see, and just found the teeny tiny little pink diamante type gems and added them to the background. For some reason in the end this looks more like Harlequin style background. Wasn't meant like that, but I love it. It's such a simple card, and you've created your own stencil for the background. So look for things like that. Another way to make your own stencils, if you want a more permanent one, is to use some acetate and your dies. So if you have dies that have, say, got grassy edges or something like that, you can totally make your own stencils in that way. Another thing that I just wanted to say, which I think I've forgotten now what I was going to say. MFT also, I believe they have a spotlight stencil. It won't necessarily create the ovals at the bottom, but it will create this whole sort of cone oval shape. So that's just another option if you guys want to check that out. So there you go. Very simple card to make, very easy to make, making your own stencils and creating the hippos in Fantasia. The dancing hippos in Fantasia. Or my version of. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next one, guys. Bye.